When I was talking with Luke in the last episode, I was asking him about Sunken Gardens, and I was asking him, how would you compare this to Florida Botanical Gardens up in Largo? Because Florida Botanical Gardens is totally free. Sunken Gardens is like $15. So the question I really wanted to ask is it worth the $15? After we got done talking about that, I thought, well, heck, I want to go check it out. Sunken Gardens is in St. Petersburg at 1825 4th Street North. Now, Florida Botanical Gardens is over in Largo, kind of over towards Indian Rocks Beach. Both of them are in Pinellas County. According to Google Maps, they're about a half hour apart. They are both very, very nice. They are both very, very different. If we're going to compare the two of them size-wise, Sunken Gardens is much, much smaller than Florida Botanical Gardens. It's 4 acres. If you look at it from the air using Google Earth, it actually looks kind of like shockingly small. You're like, is that it? But when you actually walk through it, it doesn't feel that small at all. They really make good use of the space that they have. The pathways there are smaller. It's very tightly compacted, and the paths wind through each other. There's really only one main path that you follow through the whole thing, but it intersects itself in several places. So it doesn't feel that small at all as you're walking through it. I've seen places say that the Florida Botanical Gardens is 182 acres, but their brochure says it's 92 acres. Honestly, though, going by the lesser amount, 92 acres that the brochure says, Florida Botanical Gardens does not feel 23 times bigger than Sunken Gardens. Each garden uses their space in completely different ways. Florida Botanical Gardens is very spread out. Sunken Gardens is very, very condensed. If you walk the main footpath at Florida Botanical Gardens at an average pace, you can spend about an hour and a half there, and you can walk about a mile and a half. That's kind of what I did when I was there. At Sunken Gardens, I spent about 45 minutes total from the time I got out of my car till the time I got back in. If you really wanted to take your time at Sunken Gardens, you could probably spend twice that amount of time there. When I was at Sunken Gardens, according to my phone, I checked it when I got back in, I had walked about a mile. So it is smaller, but it doesn't seem, like I said, 23 times smaller than Florida Botanical Gardens. My guess is that most of that area in Florida Botanical Gardens is not like main walking path area. Sunken Gardens, at first, when you are first going there, it makes a really bad first impression. When you go to Florida Botanical Gardens, you drive into this nice parking lot, and it pretty much looks just like what you would expect for a parking lot at a botanical gardens. Nothing really enters your mind one way or another. But if you are using navigation to get to Sunken Gardens, you're just driving down 4th Street, it's like one of the main streets in St. Petersburg. And you're driving in all this traffic with all these stores of all these types around. You pass like a recycled clothing store, and you pass like an old motel. And then suddenly navigation is like, make a left in 400 feet. I was driving there, I was like, what? And so then you pull off this busy main drag into what looks like a strip mall parking lot that's across from an Outback Steakhouse in some really old building. Now, granted, it's a well-manicured strip mall, but that's exactly what it looks like. It was so unconventional that I wasn't even sure where the entrance was or where to go. There's like some Italian restaurant in there and everything. So I parked at the back of the lot, and I just walked up towards the strip mall because that was really the only way to walk. I didn't really know where to go. And then I get to the front of the strip mall, and the door for Sunken Gardens is literally like another shop in the strip mall. There's just this set of glass doors that you might see at any entrance to any store, or Chipotle for that matter, and the doors just say Sunken Gardens painted on them. That's the area you walk in. They have like a gift shop in that area. They have bathrooms in that area, and that's where you pay. And then after you pay, you walk out like this back door side entrance from that little area, and you find yourself walking right into the gardens. And to be honest, it's a pretty impressive shift. Suddenly you're in this lush rainforest. Sunken Gardens, my first thing that hit my mind was it's more visually impressive in this very dense jungle type of way. It is very, very dense in there. Very tall foliage with large bamboo and overhanging trees and all kinds of things coming down from the trees, vines and so forth, that create this canopy overhead, which you walk through for a majority of your time. It's very professionally landscaped and it's really nicely manicured. It's got ponds throughout it, little small waterfalls throughout it, as well as a variety of tropical birds. The birds are in cages, so they're not like they're flying all around you loose or anything like that, but it's got koi ponds, other fish, and so forth. And honestly, I was really, really impressed. Florida Botanical Gardens also has a ton of vegetation, but it is more spread out and open. 88 extra acres more spread out. It doesn't really give you that feel of the overhead canopy walking through the jungle feel like Sunken Gardens does. But Florida Botanical Gardens still really has a nice garden feel to it. At Sunken Gardens, you feel more like you're in a tropical jungle than in a tropical swamp. I talked about that's one of the differences way back in episode 1 between Florida and Hawaii. Is Florida is kind of a tropical swamp. Hawaii is a tropical jungle. Although I will say that Florida Botanical Gardens does not make you feel like you're in a swamp, it definitely feels like it represents Florida and the fauna of Florida much better. Now, you may or may not want that. If you're a vacationer, you may want to see something that represents the area. If you've lived here for like your whole life, you may be done with swamp and our local plants and so forth, and you may want that unique experience that Sunken Gardens offers, and it definitely does offer you that. On the days that I have visited both, Sunken Gardens has seemed more crowded than Florida Botanical Gardens. I'm not sure whether it was or not, or if it just seemed that way because it's much more tightly condensed. If you're walking faster or slower than the masses, you're going to see the masses. And if you're walking at the same pace with somebody else, you may find yourself passing them multiple times. Like I passed one other couple like 3 or 4 times. By the end of the trip, we were like, hey, we were like friends and so forth. Both Florida Botanical Gardens and Sunken Gardens have what they call wedding gardens within them, areas to get married at. I have no idea what the cost is of each, so taking cost completely out of the equation, I personally would choose Sunken Gardens for my wedding, although that might not be for everybody. I like Sunken Gardens because I like the atmosphere immediately around the wedding gardens, but it's just like grass in a small area, and the day I was there walking around, it was just like a tent over the top of it. If you're looking at the wedding gardens in Florida Botanical Gardens, it seems like something that's a lot more formal. It's a little more open up. It seems like there's more room for like tables and things on like a concrete base around you. So depending on what you're looking for, you might choose either one over the other. Now, Florida Botanical Gardens also has Heritage Village. And if you time it right and you get there when that's open, that's free too. We went into detail on that as well in episode 21, so I will not cover that again here. But check the schedule because they are not open every single day. At the time I am recording this, Heritage Village is closed on Mondays and Tuesdays. So whether to choose one, whether to choose the other, if price is your issue, definitely go to Florida Botanical Gardens, especially if there's a number of you, right? You, your wife, some kids, and so forth. It's going to add up. However, that $15 at Sunken Gardens is going to give you a really, really nice experience.